Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Joseph Crosby, owner of Happy Viking Games. I'm here with Ben Stark.
Hey everyone.
We're honored to have Ben here. For anybody who's not familiar with him, Ben is the winner of Pro Tour Paris, and how many other Pro Tours have you top 8 at this point?
Three others, four total.
Pretty impressive. I wasn't even aware that it was that many myself.
The most recent one, Pro Tour Gatecrash up in Montreal.
So, was that fun beyond top 8ing the tournament? I mean, at this point it's routine, so.
Certainly not routine. It had been 2 years since my win in Paris. That was my last top 8. So it was, it was fun. It was nice. It was good. I had come close a couple times since then, but it was nice to get into the top 8 again.
Yeah, it was back in the Carter administration, I believe, to be specific, that I top 8'd a Pro Tour. There's ancient relics of it somewhere on tablets, I believe, but.
It was after my first two. If yours were in the Carter administration, I guess mine were during the Abraham Lincoln era. Because I know your top 8 was like 2 years after my first two.
All right, so what do we got going on here? We've got David Bryant against a player I don't know. We'll have Clayton inform us as to that. We've got David playing Esper Control. I believe Ben helped him with the deck, actually.
That's the deck I top 8'd the Pro Tour with. Gatecrash.
He's mold.
Okay, and we're on a mulligan to 5 with David's opponent.
It looks like, is that an intangible virtue in his hand?
Yeah, an Oblivion Ring, I believe.
So it looks like he's playing some sort of token deck.
Yeah, Collective Blessing, for
right.
sure, yeah.
This should be a pretty good matchup for Esper.
Yeah, I would imagine so, right? Like, the threats aren't going to be particularly...
Well, the matchup gets better when your opponent doesn't play a land on turn 1. But no, Esper with 4 Supreme Verdicts is traditionally pretty good against token-based decks, since they have to put a lot of creatures out to get things going, and then you just wrap them away.
Well, it's one of those, I don't quite know how to explain it, but it's one of those creature strategies that's like more combo-oriented, but kind of slow and builds exponentially.
Right.
So you're not putting the fast, aggressive pressure on them. So with that in mind, they're basically, like Esper from your perspective, is just trumping them entirely.
Exactly. Right? They're just wrapping when they're getting near where they would actually be doing something very meaningful. And then there's Sphinx's Revelation, and then after that you can just chain wraps whenever you want. With the synergies between Snapcaster Mage, Augur, Bolus, and Restoration Angel, you can pretty much have access to your Revelations and Verdicts whenever you need them, once you get to the late game.
Understood.
It doesn't look like Dave's going to really be able to survive to the late game in this game. This is kind of a...
Tough affair.
Yeah, it's a sad way to start off our FNM here. I mean, you always want to see good games, not somebody about to discard on turn 4.
So what are we most excited about with this commentary? I'm thinking that what we can offer people here is, all of us are accustomed to playing in FNM. In fact, I remember that some of your pro friends actually made fun of you for playing so often in FNM, and here you are, one of the most successful players in the game.
Yeah, well, I think that people have some different ideas about FNM, and they're all valid because a lot of the FNMs across the country are extremely casual and not very many players. I'm from South Florida, where we have a very large Magic scene, and a lot people are pretty well connected, play a lot of net decks and everything. So I generally play in an FNM that has, 30 to 50 people, and at least half, if not more, playing Tier 1 decks. So I play it for practice and for fun. But a lot of the other pros FNM is at a local store with 10 players, 7 of them playing not competitive decks. So that's why they make fun of me for it.
Well, in addition to that concept, I think, maybe sometimes people just don't realize that a lot of it comes down to work ethic. I mean, you can't deny your talent, but between the countless amount you play on MTGO, right, and the fact that you'll play in any tournament that has a reasonable number of players in competition, I mean, surely you would think that that's contributed to your success a great deal. I mean,
definitely.
If you were to take your experience of the game and remove 90% of it, at the very least, it would take you much longer to reach where you are now, I assume.
Definitely. I mean, no matter how good you are, if you don't really know what all the decks are doing, what cards are in the decks, you can't play well.
So, what do you think we can offer the audience tonight? Like, for people playing in Friday Night Magic, what do you think the best thing that we can do from our position is?
Well, everybody has different goals, but we're going to probably talk about the decks. They're going to get to see, what people are playing, discuss some of the cards that seem like good fits and bad fits, some of the decision points in the games, the general strategy.
So, I guess since here we are in this game, the only real strategic question I could ask is, can you think of a deck or matchup in Standard where on a mulligan to 5 that you would choose to keep a no-lander? Are there circumstances that that's appropriate, or?
This is Josh.
Nothing against Josh, of course. Just, it's an interesting question, right? Like, I mean, nobody likes to mulligan to 5, and you might remember Mark Lapine back in the day. Have you ever heard that story about how he was playing?
I don't think so. I'm familiar with his name, but I don't think I heard a story of him mulliganing to 5.
I believe he mulliganed to 5 playing mono blue against against mono red and actually just kept a hand with multiple Sea Sprites, the 1/1 flying protection from red,
Right.
and multiple Hydro Blast, and actually went on to win that game. And I believe that was actually the correct play at that point. Like, his
Right.
hand was good enough and needed a small enough number of land that it was correct, but...
Right. Well, I have obviously no idea if it was the correct play or not. That would be the correct set of circumstances. If you have
Right.
cheap, powerful spells in your hand.
Sure.
I mean, it's obvious that if your hand is 4 4-drops and a 5-drop, you can't keep that on 0. If your hand is 2 1-drops, 2 2-drops, you can consider keeping it.
So
But-
it would be a combination of knowing your curve and what your deck needs to do, and being able to quickly ascertain, you know, what are my real outs here, you know, what is my game plan? Can this be
Yeah.
better than a mulligan to 4?
Yeah, I mean, clearly that's what you would assess. I do think people don't mulligan enough, even when they're at 6 and 5, actually, especially when they're at 6 and 5. I mean, Type 2 is not a war of attrition, so to speak. Generally, people win games because, you know, they cast Thragtusk and then a second one and their opponent's playing an aggro deck, or they, you know, Sphinx of Revelation for a lot, or they get a Planeswalker going unchecked.
In other words, the spells that win you the game are so powerful, and the card advantage isn't incremental.
Right.
So at that point, being down 1 card, 3 cards, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
You,
It's
you
more
win
important.
so decisively.
Right. It's more important that you get your strategy online
Sure.
than you have one more spell.
Okay, so now that we've got a more competitive game going here, what do you think about this position? Like, still the same concept, this just isn't enough of a threat?
Yeah, well,
against Esper
as
when
you
you're
can
in
see, it's the 3rd turn of the game, I'm not. Did he miss land drop 3 over there playing the token deck? Because I mean, he should have been on the play since he lost the last game. But either way, you can see that it's the 3rd turn of the game and he's attacking for 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, while tokens does some powerful things, a 1-point clock is not pressure for a control deck.
Sure.
I remember back in the day, you know, I used to play Psychic Talk with Standstill a lot, and your opponent would put out like a